If you may have noticed, I am appropriately dressed for the holiday, and we are going to start our service this morning with an Easter parade. So everyone who would like to join us, come to the front and we're going to walk around.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Marianne. Good morning. Happy Easter to you all, and welcome to UCOV. UCOV stands for the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice. UCOV strives to be a beacon of liberal religion for Florida's Sun Coast and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community, regardless of your color, creed, ability, or class, no matter who you love, your gender expression, political affiliation, or religious beliefs. We celebrate our differences as we learn from one another. I'm Janet Knudsen, and I will be assisting Monk San during today's service. If you'd like to know more about UCOV, please see our Facebook page or our website at ucov.org, or stop by and visit some of the very friendly people at our welcome table on the lanai. And speaking of the lanai, there are going to be some tasty refreshments there after service, so please stay if you can. Whether you're joining us today in person or online, we're very glad you're here, and we hope that you will find some meaning in today's service. Are there any visitors today who would like to introduce themselves and tell us where you're from? Ooh. Yes.
I'm Dave, and I'm from a UU congregation in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Well, welcome, Dave. Any other visitors today? This morning we are having a special collection for the Blue Lotus Temple's Rebuilding Fund. As many of you know, Blue Lotus's meditation center was destroyed in a tropical storm last year. So please be as generous as you can and make your check payable to UCOV and write Blue Lotus on the memo line. If you're streaming this service online, this might be a good time to navigate to our website and click on our donate button. While the ushers are passing the baskets, we have some announcements to make. First, Richard Canarelli is going to have an announcement.
Buongiorno. See, I knew a lot of Italians out there. I asked for this time because I wanted to give some special emphasis to an event that's coming up on May 1st. A few weeks ago, the Community Foreign Team sponsored a movie called Capernaum, and I announced at the time that we were going to do a follow-up event. We originally thought it was going to be in April, but we ran into some scheduling problems, and we decided to do it on May 1st. This one is going to be very different. We have arranged for an attorney from Americans United for Separation of Church and State to make a Zoom presentation to our congregation at 4 p.m. on that day. And it is something that has not been tried before at UCOV, simply because it'll be interactive. You'll be able to see the attorney, you can ask him questions, and he can see you. And following that, our plan is to have a reactor panel where everybody, two members of the clergy would be here if it works out, and they can react to what the speaker is talking about, and you can ask the reactor panel question. This event is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, we chose the topic of Supreme Court decisions and their effect on the wall of separation of church and state. If you take a look at a lot of the events, the things that are going on today, LGBTQ issues, women's reproductive rights, prayer in school, everything. The subtext of all of them are religious issues. And what has protected religion from the beginning of our republic is the wall of separation. Because we have a wall of separation, religion has flourished, and that's perfectly okay. And you have the freedom to not worship. Recent Supreme Court decisions, however, are putting the strength of that wall in question. So we thought it'd be a good idea to have a forum where there'd be a free flow of ideas. People can say whether they're in favor of it or not, and this was the goal of the Community Foreign Team. The second reason that's important is because it's a test. We want to see how important these issues are to this congregation. We're opening them up to the community. It's free, there's no charge, anything, but we want to see how important it is to you. So if you feel that this is something you want to see more of, please consider attending on that day. I thank you very much. And I want to give a special shout out to the AV team who is working very, very hard to make this interactive presentation possible. Thanks to Tom and Dick Smith in particular. Thanks.
Julie Johns has an announcement to make as well.
Good morning. UCOV has been most generous in supporting the Blue Lotus Meditation Center. As you know, they lost their building, and so the Saturday meditations have been here. And yesterday, I want you to know that we had more than 30 people here for a 2-hour sit. So we are reaching other members of the community. I think there are probably 5 UCOV members here, and the rest were from the Venice community. And I think that's significant. The second thing I want to mention is a follow-up according to the previous announcement. There's also a fundraiser for Blue Lotus on May 1st. It is the Taste of Sri Lanka, an absolutely incredible event. And it will be a dine-in and a takeout. So if you wish to support Blue Lotus, consider ordering carry-out dinners because they will be available 3:30 to 7:30. The dinner itself is 4 to 7, Jewish Community Center, 2 weeks from today, May 1st. And if you do come, which I hope you, well, I don't know, mixed feelings, right? If you are able to come for any or all of it, there's going to be fantastic entertainment. We've got the singers from the Peace Vigil, some Bollywood dancers. Yeah. I'm waiting to see that. And a couple of educational programs. One, Monk San is going to be talking about the food and the spices, and then another one that's very impressive about soil conservation. There will also be auctions of some very unique items, including some contributions from UCOV members, some of our artists from here. There will both be a live auction and a silent auction, and hopefully next week some of that will be online, so it's another thing that you can participate in, even if you're not able to come. I think that's it on the event itself. Finally, I'd like to say, something you probably don't know, that this past week was also New Year's in Sri Lanka. So if you need to think about another change, another reason to celebrate this day with all of its festivities, Happy New Year.
Just a few more quick announcements. Tomorrow, UCOV's walking group and arts and crafts group will meet, and I'm sure there's more details about that in your purple pamphlet. The writing group is going to start meeting on Tuesdays, and that starts this coming Tuesday, the 19th, at 1 p.m. in Waters Hall. Also on Tuesday, the Venice Historical Society's lecture series will continue with a program here in our sanctuary at 7 p.m. Finally, we need people to help open and close the church. If you're interested in helping 1 weekend a month or 1 weekend every month, please talk to Kathy Avery. Lisa will now play our prelude. is our call to worship. In spring, all creation bursts into life. We see and hear baby birds everywhere. Baby lambs and calves can be seen on the farms that line Edmondson Road. Let us gather this morning to make our own joyful noise with warm hearts and hopeful spirits. For we are one with spring's renewal of the earth, and we are one in our love and support of this church family. Monk San will now light the chalice. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace. We have a choral reading this morning that I'm going to ask you to read along with me. It's from The Poet Comments on Yet Another Approaching Spring by Mary Oliver. Do we have this to project? Oh, it is projected. Okay. I'm not seeing it on my monitor. Don't flowers put on their prettiness each spring and go to it with everything they've got? Who would criticize the bed of yellow tulips or the blue hyacinths? So put a bracelet on your ankle with a bell on it and make a little music for the earth beneath your foot. Or wear a hat with hot-colored ribbons for the pleasure of the leaves and the clouds, or at least a ring with a gleaming stone for your finger. Please stand for our hymn. Please remain standing for our responsorial reading done by Monk San.
Good morning. So I'll be chanting in Pali, and so you can read the English version of it. Imina punya kamme මමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා
Kathy will now lead a time for all ages.
Good morning. Thank you for being seated. Unless you're a kid, come on up and join me. A younger person, let's go with that. Not necessarily kids. We've got some very young adult people in our midst now. Good morning. Good morning again. Today we're going to talk about hope and imagination. It's very, very powerful. Hope. And at first I have a question. Have you ever hoped for something? Have you? And did that something happen? Yeah? What did you hope for? Say again?
Poppet.
Poppets?
A unicorn.
You got a unicorn? You hoped for a unicorn, though. Okay. Did you ever hope for something? Say again?
A cat.
A cat?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons?
I can't recall.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they hoped for that happened that they'd like to tell us about? Anything? Say again. Rain. Rain. Yes. Peace. We've got peace.
Retiring in Florida.
Ah, retiring in Florida. Wonderful, wonderful. I think that hope is kind of like these. What are these? Can you take a look at our picture? What do we got here? Acorns. We've got acorns.
Trees and then they turn into trees.
Very good. Could you say that again?
You hope they turn into trees and that they're actually seeds that turn into trees.
That's right. This acorn has a hope of someday becoming a tree. What kind of tree? Do you guys remember what kind of tree?
Oak tree.
An oak tree. Very good. Here's why acorns remind me of hope. If I just drop an acorn on the floor and walked away, would it have any hope of becoming an oak tree? If I just dropped it right here? No. No. What does it need?
Water and sun and to be under the soil.
Wonderful. Very good. Very good. And like acorns, our hope needs other things to come to life. First, we start with our imagination. We imagine that thing that we're hoping for. Take a moment. Let's close our eyes and imagine something you hope for. Your hopes are like acorns. They just need a little work, care, action, help, and luck. To ever really come to life, like an acorn becomes an oak tree. One important question: could you ever have an oak tree first without having an acorn? No. What do you got for me?
But you need parents like an acorn would need another oak tree to reproduce.
Wonderful.
And Get your imagination and hope.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. The same way every great thing anyone's ever done began with hope, with someone's imagination of what could be, plus to help it grow to life. That's the power of hope.
It is our time to share celebrations and sorrows, and I think Bill Nelson is going to help me with the mic. Bill Reynolds, that's right. Bill Nelson, he's a different Bill. We love him too. Are there any celebrations to share today? Donna here in the front row, Bill.
Thank you. I'm Donna Jewett. I'm celebrating my daughter's birthday, and I'm also getting together with my kids for this next week just to have a chance to see them. I haven't seen them since Christmas, so just getting away and being with them is going to be special for me.
This is my birthday. Here.
She said it was her birthday weekend and she can hardly wait to add another year.
Good morning, I'm Miriam Bjorman, and on Thursday evening at 8:12 p.m., Hunter David Bjorman was born. Here I go, in Providence, Rhode Island. We are so thrilled. So we are on a plane Thursday, and it is our first grandchild in 16 years and the first boy.
Congratulations. Other celebrations? How about sorrows? Marianne in the front.
I'm Marianne Kerner. I am very joyful to be here. I came because I wanted to see you all parade around I was asked to play Easter Parade, and play it I did, and you all looked great. And also I love Monk Song, as I'm sure you do too, and will if you haven't heard him as yet. My sorrow is also my hope that my husband will recover. He was admitted to the beautiful hospital right down the street, and talking about acorns and how to care for them. Man, those nurses and doctors know how to care for someone, and he really, really needs it. So please keep him in your thoughts.
Other sorrows to share? May the gratitude and celebrations among us this day become a blessing to all. And may the concerns and sorrows of each be carried in all our hearts, a burden shared, become a load lightened. Monk San will now lead us in a short guided meditation.
Okay, everybody, so let's take a few moments to settle in, find a very comfortable posture. Keep your back straight as much as you can. Let your hands rest on your lap or wherever they are comfortable, and allow your shoulders to relax. And gently close your eyes. Or you may keep them open, but find a point to focus your eyes on. Be aware of your surrounding. Be aware of the lighting of the space, different sounds, the temperature, the energy level. Now take a few deep breaths. Breathe in deeply and breathe out softly. Long, deep, and deliberate breaths. With each breath, allow your body to settle and allow your mind to calm. Scan through your body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Notice where you feel tension, stress. Check your posture, check your neck, check your back. Adjust yourself. Be comfortable. With that deep centeredness, let's take a few moments to be grateful. Let's be grateful to this congregation, this beautiful space, these beautiful people, these services, and be grateful to yourself that you have the physical and mental energy to be here. Be grateful to your family, friends, keeping all these grateful thoughts in our hearts. Let's practice loving kindness for a few minutes. Let's start with ourselves. May I be healthy. May I be content. And may I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I be content, and may I be peaceful. Take this little time to focus on yourself. We constantly worry about the world, others, we take care of other businesses. This is your time. Truly be kind to yourself, be compassionate, be your own healer. May I be healthy, may I be content, and may I be peaceful. Now let's take a moment to think of our loved ones, your children, grandchildren, your friends, family members, those who live close by you, those who live far away. May they also be healthy, be content, and be peaceful. May my loved ones be healthy, be content, and be peaceful. Let's take a few seconds of our time to think of Richard, who is receiving medical care at the hospital. As a collectively noble friends, let's share our loving and kind thoughts with him for his speedy recovery. Now expanding these positive thoughts towards the whole world. Think of all living beings, humans, non-humans, or the creatures. May they also be healthy, be content, and be peaceful. Keep an open heart, open mind. There is so much suffering in the world due to many reasons, many conditions, hunger, wars, different diseases. Include everybody, even most difficult personalities that you have come across, that you have seen. There are people who physically, emotionally cannot connect with kindness, empathy. They have no ability to feel love. Think of those who cannot feel these positive thoughts as well. May they all be impacted by our positive, kind, and caring energy. May they free from anger, fear, and hatred. May they all find peace. May all living beings be healthy, be content, and be peaceful. May peace be with you. May you be healthy. May you be content. And may you be peaceful. Thank you very much. You may open eyes. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? All right. So, those who don't know me, I'm Monk San. I am actually one of the residence monks at the Blue Lotus. So, I am just so grateful to be here. And thank you for the opportunity. And I feel right at home here. Right on this stage, right here, every Saturday, 10:30 to 11:30, I teach meditation. And so I feel so blessed that actually I found the Unitarian church when I first came to Venice area. So thank you, Janet, Kathy, the board, and everybody allowing me this, giving me this opportunity. It's Easter Sunday. So when I thought about when they invited me to come and do the service, I thought about what I want to share with you today. So we have a term in Buddhist teachings called Samsara. It's a Pali word. Pali is the language that is spoken by the Buddha. So it's kind of like Greek. It's a dead language. But it's a beautiful language. We don't speak it anymore, but it's a written language. So samsara means a cycle. It's cyclical. And there is I love this concept, this idea that how the Buddha trying to describe that the nature, I use the word nature intentionally because we all are part of nature. So without separating anybody from that, so the nature has this unique aspect. It has this unique quality to it, that we go through these cycles. And so human life does as well, and every other life does, and trees does go through this cycle. And so I find that there is a similarity when we speak about Easter and the idea of Easter. It's Easter and the Buddhism Samsara. Why I find it's interesting for us to find similarities in these things, so we can connect each other. You know, there are so many people are looking for excuses to find that how different we are, and why don't we look for similarities, and we can appreciate how similar we are, right? And so if you go into DNA level and all the how we came from all the elements, atoms level, and we all came from same elements. And so there are so many things that we can appreciate. We can find things to appreciate because there are so much similarities. So I found the concept of samsara is somewhat convey a point when we try to celebrate Easter. So Jesus died, and then we are talking about coming back to life. Isn't that a cycle? Coming back to it, right? And so we use eggs, we use bunnies, and it's Easter time. I mean, it's the springtime. What's the spring? It just things come back to life. And so what happens in the wintertime? You would know if you come from up north, what happened in the wintertime? Everything dies. And in fact, I came to the United States in a March, and Bante Sujata picked me up from the airport And he was driving through these roads, and I was like, why did I come here? There was no green, there was no leaves, and it was cold. Everything was gone. I thought this is a desert. So so you can see that there is this cycle that happens in nature, and this applies to life. Unfortunately, we have a tendency to only to enjoy sometimes the springtime. And we have a tendency to weep, cry, and mourn about the wintertime. Familiar? We tend to complain about it, cold, I don't like it, or I'm gonna go to Florida. Susan said, I'd like to retire in Florida, right? So, but we have to think of the nature, life, as a full cycle, rather than these are just stop points, you know. So in Buddhism, we talk about upada, which is a rise of things, and titi, things exist for a while, and then it's also talk about bhanga, and there is an end to everything. And it's not just an end, it's just a transition. So upada, titi, and bhanga. And we all go through this cycle. Birth, and we exist, and there is a death to life. Right? And so we have a really hard time. We overjoy the birth. We celebrate it, and we celebrate birthdays. We get so excited, and we buy gifts, and it's a whole celebration. And while we are living too, when important things happen, when your grandchildren graduate from high school or from the college, and these things we celebrate. However, when that happens, that we just notice these things as an accomplishment. They are, really. We are improving ourselves, we are making lives better for ourselves, right, for the betterment, and so we can accomplish certain things. But it is also, there is an underlying nature to that. That nature is actually, we are progressively changing towards that titi, to the end of the path. And actually, when you think about in life, the death of life, it's so depressing to talk about death, but let's just say, if we think that is like the end of our life cycle, right? It's really not. It's a continuation. But that end point is start where? At birth. And so we have a tendency to just think it's as a very linear thing. So in Buddhist teachings, in Buddha's teachings, he teaches us to look at this not as a linear, but as a cycle. So rather than seeing linearly, so we see this is going to come back. And so that way we can not only celebrate the beginning of life, we can actually celebrate end of life as well. Because it's a completion. We all go through this process. Everything in life, part of this nature, everything in life go through this cycle. And think about the cell of our bodies. Our body made out of cells, right? So many cells. And every 7 to 10 years, every cell in our body go through the process to become a new cell. Do we see that? We don't. But that's the part of the nature. And so there is a start, and there is an existence, and there is a end. And then that cycle begins again. And look how our heart pumps. It's a cycle, right? And think about the negative feedback mechanism in the body. You know, when your body needs certain hormones, and when it reduces, certain hormones start to kick in. And so certain organs can function. And then when it's come to that level, it inhibits, and it starts the cycle again. So this cycle is something that exists in the nature. And this is not something that we can actually fight. What happens when we try to fight with a nature that we cannot find? That creates us what? A lot of suffering. Do you see why we suffer a lot? Because it is something that we create for ourselves. And if we can change the way we look at how the nature works, how the life works, and why things change. Changes are so hard for us. But if we have an open heart, open mind to kind of see that, it becomes so much easier for us to accept, acknowledge, and to work through these changes that we go through everyday life. And so it's really important that we take a time to think about when a person, a thing in life go through certain changes, to understand, to recognize that, you know, this is a change. And so it's a cycle. It comes back. And think about a tree. And when they talk about acorns, they talked about it, right? And so in order to get the seed, you need a tree. And that seed going to give you another tree. And so it's a continuation of a process. And how our generation to generations, our DNA is passed on. And it's a continuation of that process. So it's a cyclical thing that we go through. So this happens physiologically, psychologically, and this happens emotionally. Think about your anger. Think about your frustrations. And think about when you get really irritated of something. And if you have the awareness, when you get angry, when you have a strong emotions that you are dealing with, and if you recognize the moment that arises, and actually you can break that cycle. And if you don't break it, what happens? It leads to something else. Maybe that will end up with an argument, a fight, a breakup. Sounds familiar? I'm sure you're all married, right? This happens. I'm single. I don't know. This happens. I was told. So, and so, do you see how we create this cyclical, how this cyclical effect in our life, how it works? And it could be physiological or psychological. This happens. I'm a psychiatric nurse, so something that probably you didn't know. This happens a lot on my unit. Why? Because they have not mastered to recognize how their emotions, their aggressions, their anxieties, their stresses get in the way. They really don't know. And when that happens, when somebody becomes so aggressive and angry, when he starts to stir the pot, what happens? Everybody else joins. And the whole unit goes haywire. It's really a dangerous thing to see. But if that one person has seen that I am not feeling good, I feel anxious, something is bothering me, and go and talk to a nurse or a therapist or somebody, reach out and trying to figure out a solution, that whole cycle can be stopped. So it's really an interesting concept, important thing to remember in your mind, and to think about it a little bit more. You know, for example, maybe you are just driving on highway, on a local road, somebody cuts in. This used to be me, not anymore. I'm getting older, and I'm doing better. I'm doing better. So what happens? And you start to honk, and you do whatever the thing behind you, right? Behind the wheel, and you get irritated, and you know, you ruin your journey wherever you're going. With that attitude, if you are going to the store and you are looking for something and you can't find it at the store, and now you are mad at the Publix. So that started on the road, and if you had a way to observe that, to monitor it, and we could have stopped it. But we just let it happen because this is how we have trained our minds. We have been training our mind to react to these things, to go through this whole cycle. So, I always tell people there are certain sufferings are optional. Do you see that we try to buy happiness, buying a car, having a bigger house, you know, and you get all that stuff. Do you still see that you are not happy? Because we have not changed ourselves, how we react to things, how we approach to things, and how we communicate. It really improves our lives. And so this whole thing in Buddhism described as Samsara. It's very cyclical. This also attached to karma. And so, if you believe in afterlife, this is coming back. It's a full cycle. And so there are certain evidence if you want to believe it. You know, people reborn. And so, in fact, I was reading a story. There was this man called James. He's probably like now in his 20s, Idaho. And all of a sudden, when he was 2 years old, he started to talk about plane crashes. And he was having terrible nightmares, and he started to talk about plane crashes. And when he was 2.5 years old, his dad it was a very strong Christian family, and they didn't want to believe it. But the nightmares got worse, and so they wanted to get a little bit help. And so they documented everything happened. And so some of the scientists got hold of this information. Actually, they follow up with the information that he shared. So it so happened, what he described exactly happened in the Second World War. And somebody named by James III had died from a plane crash. So if you want to believe it, you know, people do go through these cycles. And so there is a beginning to life, there is an existence, and there is an end, but that end is again come back to a cycle. It's a transition. So Buddha noticed this, Siddhartha, and he said that Aneka jati samsara. I have been through these cycles over and over and over again. Sandavisang anibisang gahakarakang gave santo. And he says, I was looking for whoever making this house, which he meant as the life, So it's an analogy. And I wanted to find out who is making the builder of this, my house, continue to build. Gahakara kangawe santo dukkha jati punapunan. So what happens when we build this life over and over and over again, when we go through this cycle over and over again, and if you are becoming a new man or a new woman every 10 years, that's a whole new birth again. And you don't really have to die and go in a casket, but we are dying right in this life, couple cycles, right? Punage hannakahasi sabbate pasuga bagga gahakutam visankitam visankara gatan chittang tanhanang kayamajika. And then he found what happens and who creates this continuation of process, and he realized actually it's my mental faculties. And he called this excessive want, craving, desire. This is what makes me continue to go on this. And so what was the solution? If wanting, craving is what makes us suffering, what would be the solution to sort of come out of this cyclical nature of life that we go through, whether it's physiological or psychological or emotional? What would be an answer? He said, actually, letting go of things. Is it easier to let go? No, because we have taught all our lives to hold on to things, right? We were told that the more we have, the happier we're going to be. And like my country, people in my country believe all Americans are so happy. But they have made a list. We are not even have made to 50 in the countries that happiest people live. So what does that tell us? The materials, the comfort, the bigger houses, bigger cars, these things really doesn't buy us the happiness that we are looking for or the peace that we are looking for in life. So we have to learn to let go. We have to learn to release a little bit. And so when you get angry, can you break that cycle? And when you start to worry about something, can you observe it? Can you recognize it? And can you put a stop to that? So that's where the mindfulness comes in our practice. Mindfulness practice is a tool for us to recognize when we go through these ups and downs in life. So when we practice mindfulness, what it does is that it scans you. Every time when something happens, it tells you, son, you are angry. Son, you are sad. It allows us to see what makes me sad. A step back and to think rather than reacting. Because what happens when we react without thinking, that leads us to a lot of unnecessary suffering. It goes haywire. So think of mindfulness is like a antivirus software in your computer. When you have a computer, you install an entire software. Now they have firewalls and all that stuff that comes with it. What happens? If you go to a website or something that you don't want to be, things pop up and you click and here we go. The computer gives you a warning. So mindfulness practice is like that. When unwanted emotion or a thought or some kind of a thing that pops, it gives you a warning. It makes you aware. You need to pay attention. You need to step back. And you need to scan yourself before you react. And so this is a skill. And so this practice is called, in Pali language, Buddhists describe that as kusala. Kusala means that this is a skill that you have to train, to develop, to cultivate. So that's why we teach mindfulness practice here. So that's why I would like to invite you all to start practice mindfulness. You really don't have to come here. Before you get up in the morning, take 2 minutes, breathe. Before you go to bed, before you fall asleep, rather than thinking about the laundry list of things that you have to do tomorrow, breathe. And it's time for you to sleep. Put everything into perspective. When anger arises, when you feel like you are going into an argument with someone, take a minute to recognize it and try to break that cycle and see if you can come out of that suffering that you create for yourself and that you create for others. So we can have a better, a happy, peaceful, and joyful life. And so this process is called samsara, and we all go through knowingly or unknowingly, mostly unknowingly, this cycle. And so I hope this special day is the day which has the significance of, newness, beginning, this message that we are sharing. And I hope you will take time to think about it today. And your goal is today for you to do, as you go through, it's 11 o'clock now, 11:10, maybe I'm past my time, sorry, I'm gonna stop. So your goal is, before you go to bed, and see if you can break this cycle today. Once a day, one time. And recognize, okay, San said this today, I feel like I'm falling into the cycle. If this is an argument with your spouse, just take your bike, go for a bike ride, and take your car, go for a ride. Go to the garden and water the plants, whatever you have to do. And see if you can actually practically apply it. See if that actually improves your day. And do an experiment. And one day, just go with the fight and see where it leads you. And so, thank you for listening. And thank you for allowing me the time to share this message with you. But it's a very practical approach to life. And we all go through these cycles. And you are in the power, and you have the ability to break that cycle. So thank you for everybody. Thank you. It's not done yet, sorry. I have to do a chanting, so I'm going to do a short Buddhist Pali chanting. And so Janet asked me to explain what we chant. And when we chant, we mostly chant the qualities of the Buddha and the qualities of the teachings and the qualities of the Sangha, which is the community which you are today. And so you have done so many good deeds, good things in your life. And so I take all that in, and I make a wish when I chant. And so close your eyes and please listen to this brief chanting through the power of these powerful words that have been chanted for thousands of years by so many teachers all around the world. May no harm come to you, may no difficulties come to you. May you always find joy and peace. Sabbitiyo vivaccantu Sabbrogo vinasatu Mate bhavatvantarayo Sukhi dighayu ko bhava Bhavatu sabba mangalang Rakhantu sabba devata Sabba buddhanubhavena Sada sutti bhavantu te Abhivadana silinsa Niccang vadapacayino Chattaru dhamma vaddanti Ayuvanno sukhang balang Ayurarogya sampatti Sangha sampatti me vacha Atho nibbana sampatti Iminate samijjatu. Thank you. I will read my wish. They can't see it, right? Oh, they can see it? Okay, great. So this was written by a Sanskrit scholar many years ago in India. So this is the translation. I really like this. We try to read this after every meditation. So I hope this wish will be your wish as well. May I become all times, both now and forever, a protector for those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with an ocean to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a servant to all in need. By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the unwise, only the wise, until the time I attain nirvana. Thank you.
Go in peace, walk softly on your paths, and may the light of love shine on you all your days.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you.